Why cannabis? So, for me, it wasn't initially, a lot of people who are in cannabis, especially Black people, are the first to say, like, I got in because, Black people deserve a place in the industry. And I definitely believe that. I'm not saying I don't believe that. I believe that. But for me, that wasn't my initial reasoning for getting into the industry. I was straight out of college. So this was 2014. I had just graduated. I just started my full-time job at SunTrust Robinson Humphrey doing equity institutional sales, which is pretty much like selling stock research, which was very interesting to me. Like sometimes when I say that, people are like, oh, you must have been bored. No, it was really interesting, and it was a very difficult career to even get in on the ground floor and an entry level like I was. So I was blessed and very grateful for that blessing. That being said, 2014 was around the time that cannabis started becoming like really mainstream. That was the time that you started to see cannabis on CNN and on the cover of Times and Forbes magazine. So, seeing that, if you see something on Forbes, it's legit. And that had me thinking of cannabis in a whole different light. I had always been a cannabis user. At that time, I would not have considered myself a medical user. But now I look back and I believe at this point that all use is medical use. At the end of the day, cannabis has medicinal properties. You can't escape them whether you want to or not. And there's kind of like a level that you really can't get any higher. So I believe that all use is medicinal use, even if you don't see it that way. But anyways, that being said, so my initial draw to cannabis was definitely the economic opportunity. I was hearing about, these crazy growth rates, 20% growth year over year, 25% CAGR for the next 5 years. And I'm thinking, remember, I'm coming off of economics and finance. I'm thinking to myself, oh, this is huge. And they're saying we're like on the ground floor level. This is the infant stage. I'm like, this is probably the only opportunity I'm gonna have to become a part of this. I realized very quickly this industry is gonna grow to be very large, and there are gonna be some multi-millionaires and billionaires made out of the industry, and they're most likely gonna be the people who got in early. So I started to do my research and try and figure out where I could really try and put down my roots. And, it ultimately ended up being my home state of Maryland. And at the time, it just was like everything, divine order. I really believe in that because everything just kind of lined up. I had just graduated. Maryland had just passed the bill that created the medical cannabis program there. So I read through that bill, which was long as hell. But I read through the bill and I realized, okay, this is how they're gonna govern the program, and they're gonna have an application process for licensees in the next year. So I, put together a little strategy, and I went to the first person that I could think of, the smartest entrepreneur that I knew personally, which was my mother. And I presented her kind of with the idea and the strategy that I thought we should take. And she thought it was brilliant because, I get it from her. But she thought it was brilliant. And from there, we started to realize, okay, we need to raise more money. This is going to be an extremely risky and capital intensive project and, eventually investment, but we should pursue it. So for a year, we had gone out, we got a third partner, Dr. Bryant, who has been like right there. The three of us founded the company together. And we've been hand in hand ever since. And it was just such a crazy process. Now that I look back, like, wow, Hope, you really actually had some balls, completely like leaving your career path, going into something so kind of, up in the air. It was very risky. I got my whole family involved, a lot of my family's money involved. Sometimes, I'm in my dispensary right now and I realize I'm sitting in all of our money, which is like really crazy, but it just really makes me feel warm inside knowing like how much my mother believed in me, how much Dr. Bryant believed in me. I say it all the time, but those two put me up on their shoulders so that Mary and Maine could be real. so that I could begin my career in this industry. Without those two, there would be no Hope Wiseman, Hope So Dope. Well, there'd still be a Hope Wiseman, but she wouldn't be doing what I'm doing now. And they gave me the tools I needed to be able to walk in my purpose. And now I'm in an industry that I love from every angle. I love the actual science behind cannabis, how it works. I think is just so amazing, and that we have so much left to discover, which I just think is so cool. And I love being on the forefront of that. I'm not a scientist or anything, but I just love being a part of that conversation. I believe that cannabis can be a tool for wealth for minority companies or minority businesses and minorities in general that want to get into the industry. I definitely believe that cannabis can be a way for them to build wealth and build, real generational wealth within their families. But either way, I believe that cannabis can be a way that we can provide equity to communities that have been affected by the war on drugs. Whether those people operating the companies are Black or not, those companies should be reinvesting in communities that have been devastated directly, and individuals who have been devastated by the war on drugs directly. So I'm very passionate about that. And then the other side of the industry is just strictly business. And cannabis is it's serious, it's corporatized. This is a big boy industry, and I love it. I love sitting next to 60-year-old white men and being able to talk the same language as them. I love that. It fuels my soul. So for me, I'm like, this is the industry for me. I get to be as quirky and weird as I want. I smoke weed, and I get to openly smoke weed and tell people I smoke weed. And then I also get to go down and, be in a negotiation and go neck and neck with a multimillionaire that's 60 years old and has been running his company for 30 years. So I just feel so fortunate to be where I am, and I can't wait to see where I'm gonna be in 20 years and all the people that I'm going to help come up behind me. I just got chills saying it. I already know I'm gonna make so many millionaires behind me. Who I am and what I do won't even be important anymore. So, and that makes me happy. That makes me